Well, welcome to FST, students and parents. I am Mrs. Landon, and it's nice to meet you. I wanted to send you out a quick video before class officially starts to introduce myself to you and to give you a quick expectation of what you can see happening this first week in class. So I am Mrs. Landon, and this is my 17th year at Mount Westonka High School. I think this is probably our 12th year of FST, maybe give or take a year. I kind of start to lose track of that. It's been a class we started again a little while ago, and it's been a very successful class in terms of all of the different topics. You know, the F and the S and the T. So we have functions, statistics, and trigonometry. So what you're going to see for this class and how it's structured is about a third of it focuses on advanced algebra 2x material. That's the functions. The stats, as we're going to cover again, about a third of it, statistics, and then probability. And then the trig part is kind of the last third that's going to help prep you for pre-calculus, where we're going to do a few chapters related to trigonometry and the unit circle. So that's really what the course is comprised of. One of the things I want to kind of talk about, how is this class going to work? So it doesn't matter if you're a hybrid student or this distance only learner student for first quarter. What's going to happen is I'm going to scroll down here on this front page. When you are scheduled to have class, so if you take a look at this, no matter again which section it is, if your first hour on Monday through Thursdays, anytime Monday through Thursday, first hour, your class starts at 8:20. A second hour, you start at 8:20 on your time. Fourth hour is at 9:55, and seventh hour is at 1:30. If I look at the schedule really quickly, this first week is a little different just because of how they flip-flopped a few things. So what you're going to see here is the win days. So the first week is, again, a little abnormal. So Tuesday and Wednesday are win days, which means if you have an even hour class. So second and fourth hour, you have class Tuesday and Wednesday. Then on Thursday, those are the block days. Those are odd hours. And so for us, that's first and seventh hour. So you're going to have class on Thursday and Friday of this week. But then the normal schedule, what it's going to do is really going to do Monday and Tuesday are blocks. So that's our odd hours. And then Wednesday and Thursday are win days. Those are our even hours. And this is when the hybrid kicks in, right? This first day, that's when A through K comes in. And then they rotate and we switch from L through Z coming in. And then the Fridays, what we're going to find is when that distance learning happens. So everyone is at home for that. What's going to happen is here, let's say that you are it's Tuesday. It's the first day of school. Remember, we're starting with win. So those are even classes. So for this case, what you're going to do, if you're hybrid in school, that's easy. You just come to class. That first Tuesday, our class starts. It's the very first class of the day at 8:20. So if you're in person, you're A through K, you come to class. The L through Z people, what are you doing though? If you're second hour FST, you're going to zoom in. So what you're going to do is click on this link right here. We're always going to use this link. Everybody needs to zoom in. If you're hybrid and distance learning, or if you're distance only learning where you're not coming into school for that first quarter, you have to come and you zoom in. We're going to start class with some attendance. That's going to be the first requirement. And then we'll always have some type of activity to start off the class. It may be a chat thing that we do. It may be some ACT questions, maybe homework questions from the previous day. Because of the math class structure, what I really am going to focus on in those first 15 minutes of our class, again, attendance is required. We start for that. So you guys at 8:20, if that's your scheduled time, be on time. Do not be late. If you're late, you could be marked unexcused. But after we do that attendance, I really want to focus on, okay, who has questions out there? And remember, we're going to be in this world where half the kids are in person and half are online, but we're all there as a whole class. So we can really discuss any homework questions you have. And I think you're going to hopefully find that helpful. So then, again, let's say you started at 8:20. Well, maybe stick around for 10 to 15 minutes. So maybe it's 8:35. We're done with our introductions and activities for the day. If you're a distance learner for that day, I'm going to say, okay, we're going to shut the Zoom off and you can go ahead and do your assignment that is scheduled. If you're in class, then we're going to kick it off. Okay. Now, what's going to happen then is if you look at it here, I really try to structure this to make it make sense. I always have the dates and the hours. So if you're kind of like, man, do I have FST today? I forgot. Just come and look. Okay, September 8th, I have second and fourth hour classes. Is that you or not? Thursday, September 10th, that's first and seventh hour. Now you have to remember if you're coming to school or if you're staying at home for that. We're going to always mention here, I'm going to say, what are we doing in the first 15 minutes? So again, we always start with attendance. Be on time, do not be late. If you show up late, you might be an unexcused absence and you don't want that. So we'll always I'll give you a highlight of what's the first 15 going to be like. And then here's the actual assignment for the day. If you're in the classroom, then I'll start lecturing and we'll start doing that activity. If you're at home, you can shut off of your Zoom and end that session, and you can start your homework assignment then. Okay, let's talk about just a really quick structure. I do have an introduction video if you do online learning for the day one, but I'm going to click into chapter 1 here and show you how it's structured a little bit. Right here, you're going to see, again, this is going to be Wednesday, September 9th for second and fourth hours. You meet again. We're now rotating who's home and who's in person. This is our first 15 minutes, what we're going to do, and then our assignment. First and seventh hour, don't worry, this is your Friday assignment, so it's easily viewed in there. So we have our assignments, and you're going to see this nice schedule in here. You can always take a quick peek, right, and kind of see what we have. And again, I'll highlight this. If you're in person in class, I'll talk about this structure in class. If you're online learning for that, I have a video you watch, you listen, and you kind of understand how the course structure is going to go. One of the things in terms of doing these daily assignments and our homework, and this is important, I think, for parents to understand too, is the due dates and the deadlines. So parents, if you like to kind of follow along too and see what your students are doing, what you're going to notice, what you see posted on this calendar here, those are the scheduled due dates. And people can earn full credit on those. A lot of our daily formative homework, which is 20% category, that formative work, they're green puzzle pieces. And a lot of those are set for 3 tries. So if your first attempt doesn't work well, you can kind of keep doing a few more tries until you're content with your score. You're going to see about of one chapter, which if we look at this pacing, one chapter is roughly 3 to 4 weeks long. We're typically going to have an assessment in the middle of that chapter. When we hit the assessment at the middle of the chapter, all of the formative work up until that time period hits its deadline. Okay, and I'll give you these reminders. So kind of that mid-chapter quiz, once that's hit, all of the work up to there has to be in, otherwise you get a 0. So keep that in mind for deadlines. Now, a chapter test. Once we hit the end of that chapter, again, probably after 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to have our first summative assessment. And for here, your first summative assessment for chapter 1, you're going to see actually falls in kind of this last week of September, first week in October. Once we hit the end of the chapter and that summative is 80%, all of that second half of the work of that chapter hits its deadline. Anything not in by that test time also gets a 0. School policy is you can retake any summative assessment. So do know this chapter 1 test does have a retake ability. If all your work has been in and you do the relearning, you can retake. For first quarter, we only have 2 summative assessments, chapter 1 and chapter 2. Chapter 1, like I said, is retakeable if needed. Chapter 2, unfortunately, is administered the last day of the quarter, and so it does not qualify for the retake. But again, as we go through the course, I will highlight these things for you so you better have an understanding of that. Now, when we do take that summative test, by the way, a little bit different than what fourth quarter was like. Fourth quarter, when you did just distance learning, you had a lot of this wiggle room, and you don't really have any wiggle room on the test days. So we're scheduled to have our summative test again in this particular week. What's going to happen is we're going to start class. You're going to zoom in. So you're just going to come on over here, right? You're going to find your class and zoom in. We're going to start class. Maybe we'll go over any questions, and I'm going to say, okay, everyone is starting this test right now. If you're physically in the classroom, you take the test. If you're at home, you take the test. To make it fair and equitable, this is an online test you're going to be taking. Okay. Now, if you're in the classroom taking a test and you're like, hey, my buddy's at home taking the test, they're probably digging through their notes. Is this fair? Yes, it is, because here's the deal, you guys, I'm going to have these written so I know you can have your notes. So if you're in the classroom, it's going to be a little different type of summative test than I've ever given. You can have your notes available. Why? Because the other people at home can also have their notes available, and I want to make it fair and equitable for all of you. Again, we'll talk more about that as the time comes, but do know I really do understand that I'm trying to get equitable learning between those at home and those in the classroom and making it fair. But that test, by the way, you're going to take it within that time period. Once your hour is up, that test is closed. So you don't have all day to take the test. You have just that classroom time period. So there are going to be some time constraints. So even though you kind of have an open notes test, you aren't going to have that much time to dig through your notes. So you still really want to know the material and to be able to be prepared. So last thing, my email. Again, I am Landon is my last name. It's Nicole Landon. There's another Landon in email. It's Landon D. That is my sister-in-law. She does not check her email. Please do not email her. I am Landon N. So if you need to get a hold of me, please email at that address. So welcome to FST. I hope you all have a great first week of school, and I look forward to working with you all more during the year.